Okay, so welcome guys. My name's Greg. I'm going to be giving a professional development on how can AI improve my teaching practice. Okay, the reason for this professional development is I gave a survey out, so some of you guys helped me out with that survey. And these are the needs of San Dimas High School in particular. You can see they're all about the same, and we have some low ones like self-care. I'm not sure why we're so low in self-care. Why we don't care about ourselves, or we feel like we're already doing a great job. But the highest one was how can AI improve my teaching? So that's the source of this professional development. I thought I'd start with a little bit of what is AI. We've all heard about AI in the news, but yeah, AI is artificial intelligence, and it's a simulation of how human mind works. It works by looking at large amounts of data, and then what the AI does is it looks for patterns in those large amounts of data. And by doing this, it can appear like it's thinking. It's not thinking, just looks like it, but it is self-correcting, and it's creative, which is kind of the exciting part for education. What can AI do in my lessons, right? So AI, we can build writing prompts that are grade level appropriate for each student. So we don't have to make a generalized one. Now all of them can be grade appropriate for each student. It allows individual choice for students. So it's just as easy to make 30 different writing prompts, right, to each student. And it gives instant feedback on their writing, which is the piece we're going to talk about next. So there are many AI teaching tools. The one we're going to talk about today is called Class Companion. And in today's session, we're going to introduce Class Companion to you. We're going to show you how it will improve student learning. We're going to practice a little bit on how to make an assignment so that you can take that back with you today. And we'll talk about practical applications of Class Companion. So those are the pieces that we're going to talk about. All right, so before we do that, let's talk a little bit about Bloom's Two Sigma Gain problem. This is the same Bloom's as Bloom's taxonomy. You've probably heard about Bloom's taxonomy, right? It's how we prioritize those learning goals. But Bloom's Two Sigma problem is this. Bloom found out that traditional classroom settings, we kind of have this normal bell curve, right? Where most of the kids are in the middle for their understanding. And then as we move out, we get less and less. The 2 sigma is 2 standard deviations. That's why they called it that. And you can see that, by the way, traditional learning model is teacher teaches. There are no formative assessments, and then we take a test at the end of the session. And that's the results that we get from that. Mastery learning is this blue curve. Mastery learning sets in those formative assessments and helps teachers know where students are, and then makes corrections before the test. And then we see the farthest one to the right, the most productive one, is mastery learning from a one-on-one tutor. So if we have someone that's one-on-one with us and sees our mistakes, and then provides feedback for those mistakes, and then guides our learning, we get the biggest bang for our buck over there on the right-hand side. So that's Bloom's 2 Sigma Gain problem. The problem is, how do we design our classrooms to look like this and less like this? So how do we get to that one-on-one? And that's where Class Companion comes in. So Class Companion gives us that one-to-one advantage. Class Companion uses the AI to provide instant feedback for students. And that feedback the feedback is the important piece for student growth. Kind of like shooting free throws, right? If you shot free throws all day long, but couldn't see if you made it or not, you wouldn't be getting any better. And so that's kind of the idea of the AI feedback. As soon as you are done, it will give you feedback on where you are at and how to improve. AI is powerful, and this software can assist teachers in creating writing prompts. And that's one of the pieces that we've been working on, is how to incorporate writing into science. And so this is a great way to do that. It will create the assignments as well as grade them. Yeah. So when to use Class Companion, these are just some ideas that you people are doing now. So we have reading comprehension. We're going to look at one of those today. We can put in the writing that the kids are reading, and then we can ask AI to create comprehension questions from that. We can use it as an exit ticket. So the last 5 minutes of class, you can put up your prompt, and students can write to it. That lets us know where they're at in their thinking. Also lets the kids know where they're at in their thinking. Did they grasp the idea? And then we can use it also as a summative assessment, and we'll talk a little bit about that later on. But this is definitely not the meat and potatoes of Class Companion. So maybe these two are, and this is kind of a side piece. Okay, so let's get started. There are 3 easy steps that we're going to go over today. One, we're going to add an assignment and a rubric, and then students are going to complete the assignment, and then we get to review the student work. Okay, that's how it works. So let's take a look. We're going to go ahead and jump into Class Companion now. I included a video here of how to generate an assignment, in case you want to go back and look at that later on, but we're going to do it today in class. And we're looking for this piece right here that says add an assignment. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into Class Companion. Okay, and so here's my Class Companion. Right now I am in period 2, and so I've set up that class. Super easy. You use Google to log in to Class Companion, and then you send kids a code, and they enter the code, and they use Google. So it's like a 2-click system. Works pretty good. We're looking for this add an assignment. So I'm going to click on the add assignment piece there. Okay, and so there's many ways to add an assignment. We can duplicate it from content library. So there's already a bunch of work in there that teachers have provided. We can import it from another source. We can create from scratch where we're going to set up each piece of it, but this is what we're going to look at today, which is generate from AI. Okay, so one thing to keep in mind is that when we create this question, it's also creating the answer and the rubric. So we don't have to do any of that. We can just tell it what we want the question to be like, and it'll give us some samples to look at. So let's try that out. All right, so I'm gonna select here that we're gonna go generic short answer, and then I'm gonna paste in, hopefully here, something I already wrote. So it says provide a hypothesis and data for students to demonstrate that they can write a conclusion that involves restating the hypothesis, whether it's true or false, and then the data that led them to that statement. So this is something that we're working in my human body systems. We're working on how to conduct an experiment, and so we're at the end of it, so we want to see can they write a good conclusion from some data. Now notice I didn't tell AI what the experiment was about or any parameters, so I just said, hey, make some samples. And we're going to hit generate, and there we go. So we now it's pretty quick, right? So now we have 5 prompts. Each prompt has a hypothesis. If plants are given fertilizer, then they will grow taller than plants that do not receive fertilizer. There's some data there, and then it prompts them to write a conclusion. So here's 5 samples. Now you can have the kids answer all 5 of these if you want, or we can narrow it down. So just for our purposes today, we're going to narrow it down, and let's just say only use question number 1. And we're going to update that. And this is really like the part I think that we as teachers need work on. We need work on how to communicate with AI to get what we want, right? So here we go. Here's our 1 prompt. It says hypothesis. If plants are given fertilizer, they will grow taller than plants that do not receive fertilizer. It says the data is 2 groups of 20 identical plants were grown for 30 days. Group A was given fertilizer once a week, while Group B was not given any fertilizer. This is just like a 7th grade science fair situation. Can they write the conclusion, right? So at this point, we can now modify the question. So this sounds a little bit too simple, right? So we can ask AI to make it more complex. Okay, so we can say make the example college level. So this is the honors class that I'm teaching, so we can do that. And let's see what it comes up with if we say we want it to be a college level. All right, and so now we have some more background information. The application